Hello, I'm David Harper with the BBC News. Reports from Beirut say more explosions have been ringing out over Hezbollah-dominated suburbs of the Lebanese capital, with massive blasts lighting up the night sky. The fresh attacks by Israel came as Hezbollah said its fighters were engaged in fierce clashes with Israeli troops in the border area. It said Israeli soldiers were attempting to advance towards the southern Lebanese town of Edessa. Earlier, Lebanese authorities said all shelters for displaced people in the country were now full and 4 hospitals were out of action. Kieran Donnelly, the Senior Vice President of International Programmes at the International Rescue Committee, told the BBC that the humanitarian situation in Lebanon is dire.
This escalation and the humanitarian crisis that it has brought about comes on top of an already struggling economy and already struggling population, and it really is having a devastating effect. There's about a quarter of the population, over 1 million people, have been displaced, fleeing to Beirut and further north. Many people are not able to find shelter. People are sleeping in cars and under bridges and on the beaches.
President Biden has suggested that Israel shouldn't hit Iran's oil facilities in retaliation for Tuesday's missile strikes. Speaking at the White House daily briefing, Mr. Biden said that while Israel had the right to react, it could consider alternative targets.
The Israelis have every right to respond to vicious attacks on them, not just from the Iranians, but from everyone from Hezbollah to Houthis. But the fact is that they have to be very much more careful about dealing with civilian casualties.
While urging some caution over direct attacks on Iran, the US has gone ahead with its own airstrikes against the Iran-backed Houthi movement in Yemen in an effort to degrade their offensive military capabilities. Local media said that the capital Sana'a, the port of Hodeidah and the central city of Dhamar were hit. More from Sebastian Usher.
The Yemeni capital has had a respite from bombing in the past 2 years since fighting between the warring parties in Yemen largely subsided. The fact that Houthi positions have been targeted there suggests a possible new escalation in US-led operations against the Iranian-backed group, which has in the past year carried out many attacks on shipping in the Red Sea and fired several missiles at Israel in support of the Palestinians in Gaza.
Elon Musk's social media platform X says it has paid all the fines it incurred in Brazil and has filed a fresh request to resume services in the country. But the Supreme Court justice who imposed the fines says the money had been sent to the wrong account and ordered that it to be transferred to the correct one and verified. X had been blocked by Justice Alexandre de Moraes in a high-profile showdown after Mr. Musk failed to comply with a court order related to disinformation and hate speech on the platform. World News from the BBC. The United Nations say more than 6,000 people have been displaced from the city of Pont-Sondé in Haiti after a murderous rampage by local gang members. Officials said the region's police chief has been sacked. At least 70 people have been confirmed killed in the attack, although that number is expected to rise. The Biden administration says it will not renew a program which allowed hundreds of thousands of migrants to enter the United States. The parole program saw more than 500,000 Venezuelans, Cubans, Haitians and Nicaraguans with existing sponsors enter on humanitarian grounds and stay for 2 years. It will begin to expire in the coming weeks, but many migrants will be able to remain in the US on other programs. Almost 600 more National Guards are being deployed to the Mexican city of Culiacan, which has been rocked by severe gang violence. Dozens of people have been killed in recent days. Will Leonardo reports.
This new deployment comes after police in Culiacan were pulled off the streets and their weapons taken pending a review. Local officers have often been accused of links to the drug cartels. The city and the surrounding Sinaloa region has seen weeks of brutal violence, with more corpses appearing almost daily. Rival gangs have been fighting for control amid a power vacuum caused by the arrest in the United States of the Sinaloa cartel leader Ismael El Mayo Zambada in July. Officials have resorted to ever more heavy-handed measures to try to stem the violence. Video on Friday showed what are presumed to be army helicopters opening fire on armed men.
One of Italy's top tennis players of the 50s and 60s, Lea Pericoli, who enlivened the circuit with her eye-catching costumes, has died at the age of 89. Ms. Pericoli reached the last 16 of the French Open twice and the Wimbledon Championships 3 times. But she became more famous for the clothes she wore during the contests, which were variously adorned with fur, ostrich feathers and lace roses. She later became a popular television presenter and journalist. BBC News.